A very warm welcome to today's session on ELSAConnect. ELSAConnect for us is a very special space which has actually evolved organically, literally from the team to also the sessions. It started with just having chai after the COVID started and the lockdown started. We would just chat, and then it came into having skills, and then we decided on speakers, and then we thought we'd have curation and talking. So we've been evolving for every session, moving into panel discussions. And the nicest part is it's a space for everybody, and they decide to come in because we want a space where each ELSA helps each other to get to know each other. And more special, I think what we are as a ELSAConnect team realize that every connection is about the curator, the speaker, and the process of coming in to these sessions are more special, and friendships get formed, and beautiful connections, and the world is really small. So this is our space, this is your space. So please come in anytime and help us to evolve it even better. So a warm welcome to Shalini and Shubha. We are so glad you're here, Shalini, and Shubha, so glad you're curating today. So I hand over to you, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Neelu. Good afternoon and welcome to ELSAConnect. It has never been more important to give in ways that make the greatest difference. Today's speaker, Shalini Sethi, goes beyond traditional giving to build a unique, powerful, and ambitious approach to solve problems that often get neglected. I will leave it to her to elaborate, but before that, I just want to give a quick introduction to her. Shalini Sethi is chairperson of Sethi Foundation, which is focused on the theme of technology-enabled philanthropy. The focus of the foundation is in education for urban poor, hearing disability, and micro-entrepreneurship. The Sethi Foundation believes and focuses on involving technology to improve the lives of Indians, and all programs are designed around this focus. In education, the Sethi Foundation program has adopted a school and a college in Bangalore, helping them in infrastructure, computer labs, scholarships, and micro-entrepreneurship. The key program funded by Sethi Foundation is the First Sound program, which provisions hearing aids and cochlear implements for those who are hearing impaired partially or fully. The Sethi Foundation now has embarked on impacting 1 million lives in enabling hearing or preventing hearing through its flagship program called Hear a Million, which is also the title for our session today. Shalini is a serial entrepreneur and founded Emploi Global, Career Profiles, and Job Kari in her previous avatars after working with Indian School of Business and HCL Group. Shalini is an MBA from FMS University of Delhi, and her interests include wildlife photography. Over to you, Shalini. Welcome to ELSAConnect.
Hey, thanks a lot. It's really nice of you girls to call me. Thank you so much, Shubha, Sandhya, all of you. And it's a real pleasure to be here today. And I'm very humbled by the fact that you girls want to understand a little more about Hear a Million, something which I am, very passionate about. So I'm just going to tell you, today about my journey from corporate to philanthropy, trying to, join the dots of my life to share with you if anything making sense, not making sense, whatever. That's the way I look at it. Okay. So I'll just start with it. And so, around India's independence, my grandfather was the head of zoology department at Allahabad University. As you know, Allahabad University was one of the top universities at that time, at independence time. My father was in the army and later in the home ministry, and my mother a well-educated homemaker. So the main theme in our home was always expected to be, and I was encouraged to study. So way back, when I come from, doing an MBA for a girl was very unusual. My parents didn't even know what an MBA was all about, coming from a middle-class family, which is all bureaucratic. And there I was, did economics and then did MBA. But the focus was, listen, you got to do something. You can't just sit at home. So 1983, I started my career. And So it was the corporate of those days. It was called Network Private Limited. It was a part of the HCL group. And I was fortunate to be introduced to computers, electronic typewriters, something that most of you may not even know what it is in today's world. But it was in 1983 when they were first introduced in India en masse. Okay. So Network Private Limited, which was a part of the HCL group, though a corporate of that time, was in reality a technology startup. So working in a corporate-ish startup was a turning point in my career from day one, which I realized only today when Shubha asked me to connect the dots. So where did the dots come from? So I'll tell you how it all panned out. So why was it a turning point? Well, I from day one took risks unknowingly. I didn't realize it, but I was doing it all the time. Whether it was a new product, a new market, new technology, new business model, revenue model, they were all the common link in my first few years of my career. And there was, those were new products, new times. Technology was just entering into the Indian arena. IBM had just gone, Indian companies were just coming up, so that's when I inevitably, sort of moved into this. As a woman, what did I do every day was something involved with risk. I did not realize it. Whether it was breaking glass ceilings, working in Delhi, Mumbai, that time called Bombay, Goa, traveling and heading sales for a technology product line gave me unbelievable experience, confidence, and exposure to success based on hard work alone. The only yardstick, HCL was an aggressive company. It was a startup out there. You can see from their results today, you can see from their size, how aggressive they were. So working in a startup, I got introduced to speed, agility, risk, and most of all, a concept called jugaad. We had to do jugaad every day for our living. There wasn't enough money, so all the time we were doing all of that. This, I believe, has shaped my career and subsequent years. Okay, I also got married during these years, which threw up challenges of juggling a child, marriage, and career. That's when I started my next phase in my career as an entrepreneur, because doing a full-time job was really difficult. Not having family support. As a family, we had relocated to Bangalore, and Bangalore way back in '86 had nothing. No crashes, nothing. There was absolutely nothing available. So this was not easy, but hindsight, not that difficult, as I had taken risks of new markets and product earlier in my corporate HCL group career. So I had actually got into, I started a recruitment firm, which is called Career Profiles, from home, then a nearby office way back in 1991. People today talk of home offices. I did home offices way back then. Believe me, it was difficult. It was 25/8. It was not even 24/7, which everyone understands today. Family did not understand at that time. Career Profile in a short time was a leading search firm in Bangalore and Bombay. We had two offices. Placing basically IT professionals, because by then IT had become the new norm and rage in the country. And this was done for leading firms at CXO and other levels. It felt good to start a company, grow it, and be recognized as a leader in the industry. However, the world was changing rapidly. The internet had arrived in India in 1999. So recognizing the advent of the internet, I did my second startup in 1999, which was Job Curry, which was a job portal where it was funded by the iGate Corporation for 2 million. I was taking care of, we were 4 of us who started it, and taking care of the business side. I was taking care of the business side. And we worked hand in hand with Naukri and Job Street and other portals that you might be familiar with, who were already established. So we were a newer player and focused mainly on IT. I built the company in a short while. We built it in a short while to a run rate of a few crores per annum. Again, it was a leader amongst job portals in India in terms of scale, but not in terms of profitability. we were on the verge of really scaling up in a bigger thing when the internet bubble burst. 2000 came, and 2000 was the bubble bursting, and our funding dried up. So we were one more startup who vanished in less than 2 years. Rapid change indeed, but taught us a lot about the internet business in the meantime. So there's always a silver lining to everything. So it was right time to rethink from corporate to entrepreneurship, and now what? So in 2002, we as a family relocated to Hyderabad, and well, ISB came up. ISB way back in 2002 was like a startup again. It was, I don't know, I just moved from one startup to another. So they had 3 professors who were full-time, 3 or maybe 4 of them, and that was it. And they were struggling with their placements, and they asked me if I could head placements for them. Now, this was something which I had never really done, but they said, okay, your experience in recruitment will come in handy. So the only difference was it was back to a corporate-ish job again, but a startup. In ISB, so I set up the placement process from India and took it global. In those 2 years, I was there for 2 years, built ISB's brand globally and placed over 300 students. We also did our first national placement of a student at 1 crore from the, way back then. 1 crore was a lot of money. So did all of that. It was an unforgettable exposure, rich global exposure for me for the first time. That was the first time I was really doing a global assignment. Then in 2006, we, as a family, moved back to Bangalore. And the other reason was also, it had got stabilized and established. And I somehow found it was not interesting enough for me because I think I was very startupish. I could just not stay on a corporate environment. So we moved back to Bangalore, which was our adopted home city after we moved here in 1986. So, we came back. So it was the entrepreneurial bug again, and I started Employ Global search firm. In a short time, it raised it to a leading firm servicing firms across India and few cases globally. And this was only at the CXO level. We were only doing work at the CXO level, retained searches. So there was, it was a new area. It was the high end of recruitment, which I got into. So my learnings in EG or Employ Global was that, capital to grow is most critical. The absence of capital leads to not being able to hire quality teams. Very, very important. Something that I had to go through quite a grind on that. And by capital, I don't just mean any capital coming in, not the debt one, but equity. So somebody has to, put in the equity capital, and that is where, your process is. Everything becomes more robust. Everything becomes better because it's more challenging. The second big learning was not to involve extended family members without ground rules. A mistake I made in that. Okay, so that's a long story. I won't go into that, but that's, and it gets very complex. You asked me to share my experiences, so I'm just sharing this part. Last but not the least was you have to scale massively. And India offers the opportunities to scale massively. We did a very large, in fact, Bharti is here. Bharti and I used to work together in EG, Employ Global, and we both grew it to a very nice level. Around 2006, 16, sorry, I had worked corporates as a leader in the HCL group and built 3 startups to leadership position in the recruitment space. That's when I realized that I now wanted to hang up my boots on the corporate side. And I started, I wanted to get into philanthropy and started the Sethi Foundation in 2016. Because we as a family were very fortunate to have been well off. And a lot of people around us were not. So that was the thought my husband and me had. And we said, we need to give back to society now, enough of the earning, the running around and all of that, and let's see. So again, another area came up in my life. So the Sethi Foundation was set up to focus on two sectors. One was education, and two, the space of healthcare. We chose these two areas. Education was something, as an individual, I had always been supporting a lot of people in the area of education and healthcare also. You have so many people working with you. These are the two areas I think all of us at some stage or the other, work with people in our homes on these two areas. So they're the ones you recognize, they're the ones you understand. And obviously, it was my first choice that let's go ahead with these two. And I also had been exposed to technology and the internet throughout my career. So we focused on enabling technology for the removal of disabilities. That was the thought that we wanted to do. Now, in disabilities, of course, there was a lot of choice, which disability, where, what. So the first area of focus for the Sethi Foundation became hearing disabilities. It was more out of a chance thing. I don't think it was very systematically done, though. Yes, I had looked at sight very closely, and I realized that there was not much scope in doing work in sight, because there's nothing, if a person is blind, you cannot do anything. You can only give them assisting tools. And today you give them one tool, tomorrow the tool changes. And I saw somebody showed me a book with 10,000 products. So they can easily move from one to the other just to make their lives more comfortable. And I somehow did not want to put my money, hard-earned money, into that area. I wanted to see if we could do something to remove a disability. So that where my whole thought process came from. So more out of a chance, we had an interaction with Dr. Sunil Narayan Dutt. He's a renowned ENT surgeon. He's a doctoral in hearing, based in Bangalore, and he's also a gentleman, who had a very good career in the UK, and he has studied from St. John's in Bangalore, and wanted to give back to Karnataka, and had chucked up his job and came here in Apollo as the head of the department. So we had gone to him for an audiometry test for a family member, which led me to know more about hearing disabilities in India. And, that's how we got associated with it. Incidentally, over 6% of India's population suffers from some form of hearing disability. I understood why this is crucial to address. People who have severe disability can't also speak. So if you are deaf, if you're born deaf, you can't speak also. So that's why you see most of the time it's deaf and dumb that go together as terminologies. But it really puts the child in a total state of doom and gloom in life, because they just cannot communicate with anyone. So furthermore, interventions to correct hearing disabilities are expensive. Also in the country, whether it is screening, speech therapy, audiometry tests, hearing aids, or cochlear implants. These are expensive. And in the 6% of the India's population, which is suffering from hearing disability, about 85% are just cannot afford any of this. It's as high as that. And we have 4 out of every 1,000 children being born deaf in the country. So the numbers are mind-boggling. Nobody has clear statistics on it, but if you just multiply these numbers, these are huge. And I also found that this is an area where philanthropy does not focus at all, unlike, say, like I said, in the area of sight disability. So we started thinking of how to address this challenge. I didn't have any skills in medical, that was not something that I had anything in. So what did I have? I had my reputation. I had a very good reputation in terms of being an ethical person, hardworking. I had program skills, execution skills, some capital, and had an ability to negotiate hard. Okay, so I decided at first, along with Dr. Sunil, to provide hearing devices to children. That's where we started from, somewhere around 2017. Each hearing aid for 1 year, incidentally, costs 14,000 rupees. That's the minimum at a certain quality, and they can go up to lakhs, but obviously we are talking at a different level. So I'll give you the minimum one, 14,000. So we negotiated with these device suppliers and started. The program now is called the First Sound program. Today, we have provided hearing devices free of cost to 96 children, all bilateral. That means 2 per child. And we also provide speech therapy to the children and sustained training in usage so that no child drops out. So we've been monitoring this program pretty closely and have found that all the children, even today, are using the hearing aids, which is quite a good thing to happen. I don't know how it will pan out as our program becomes larger and larger and how much we will really be able to monitor, but this is the statistics as of today. And on the lighter side, the program was called Sunte Ho. Internally, before we dubbed it for Sound, that was like too familiar, so we had to change it. So the hearing device program, we are now running at about 100 per year, focused in Bangalore to underprivileged children. This program is also supported with a full-time audiometrist, now on our roles in collaboration with Dr. Sunil. There's a person called Dr. Apurva amongst others. So one of the things I had learned in my startup days was that capital was important and critical to scale. So far, we have funded all hearing devices and speech therapy via, we had just done it by our own capital to demonstrate scale and, more important, our own commitment, which was very important, if tomorrow you want to raise funds. So in 2008, while in discussion with our ENT specialist, we came to learn more about profound deafness. Now we were moving up the ladder. And the only way to rectify this state is in children through surgical intervention, ideally before the child reaches an age of 2.5 years. Maybe even as young as 6 months, so that the child grows with speech, and speech therapy is not required. It grows with sound. So the cost of each cochlear implant, even today, the minimum cost is rupees 6 lakhs for 1 year. And this is a lot of money. However, the possibility of removing hearing disability using technology was very, very appealing to us. We decided to fund one child for a cochlear implant. So our first child was a 4-year-old girl child. And we were there on the day of the operation. So our doctor told us that there will be massive changes in a few weeks. But of course, when the child comes out from the surgery, I mean, they're just, they're sedated. So there's nothing really showing up except some equipment attached there. And that was it. So we met the patient a month later, and I met a confident youngster who said hello and thank you to me. And she could hear. She could speak somewhat, obviously not very clearly, but looking like a very, very happy child. She was part of communication around her. The implant had transformed the lives of the child. We all had tears in our eyes. That moment, I decided we will do more. That's when he said, okay, let's start looking at this more seriously. Today, the Sethi Foundation has funded 40 cochlear implants by our own resources and that of some donors. It's been an outlay of over rupees 2 crores. So one more thing I'd like to mention is, my husband comes from the venture capital side. So he helped us in figuring out what a hearing aid should really cost. And we managed to bring down the hearing aid cost from 15,000 to 5,000 per hearing aid. And similarly, for cochlear implants also, we could bring it down, but not that much. It was only to 4.4 lakhs. Today, we are funding 2 cochlear implants every month, and we believe we can scale this to about 8 per month. The Sethi Foundation funding it also demonstrates our commitment to enable donors to join us, because then they feel that yes, we are putting our money on And if we are putting our own personal money, then they would also like to join in. So it makes it also added to our credibility, and that helped us a lot. So my asset was reputation. The fact that the Sethi Foundation was on its own funding one per month showcased to donors that we are serious. One corporate actually approved a matching implant for 12 months. So they said, you do one and we'll do one every month. That was very heartening, to hear them say that. So many friends came forward. It has been truly unbelievable experience to change the lives now so far of about 126 children in past 4 years by enabling speech, hearing aids, cochlear implants, all of that. So it was late mid 2019. I was wondering, how do you scale it? Now, this is, the numbers are mind-boggling. It's not possible for us to fund all of it. We cannot even think of it. It's so big. So scaling would also require capital. Hearing devices are expensive. Where would the money come from? We had already, with relatively low effort and the association of our team of doctors and Wani Pradhan, which is the NGO run by our doctor, become one of the India's largest player in hearing disability in philanthropy, because there was really nothing there. So it was a vacant space. So we just came along and, we just reached there. All right. I also noticed that the vendors, due to a monopoly. So what very interesting was that in cochlear implants, there are 4 vendors globally, and none of them are Indian. And they have a monopoly, so they refuse to budge ground on pricing. So it was time to scale, but with Indian vendors and entrepreneurs. Thus was born the idea of Hear a Million. That was the idea behind it. That how do we do it? How do we scale? How do we get 1 million people affected by this whole program in some form? It should touch 1 million people so that everybody can see scale and there's an interest. It's a market that we are opening up for them, which would have never been there. Okay. So in the Hear a Million, in discussion with our doctor and Enable India, I don't know if some of you are familiar with Enable India. They do a lot of work in disability. There is, so the 2 people who are heading it is Dipesh and Shanti, and Alex was the president of DNA. Along with them, a goal to touch 1 million lives in Karnataka over 5 years in the area of early prevention through screening, as well as removal through provisioning increased number of hearing devices and cochlear implants. We aim to scale speech therapy and continue our we want our goal of 100% utilization for our recipients. That's very important. And so far we have been able to achieve it. Going forward, we're trying to put this program together because it requires a lot of operational loose ends to be put together. We also met entrepreneurs who are using technology to enable screening using cell phones and a headphone. Hence, there would be no need for complex, expensive audiometry rooms. We're trying to see how we can reduce the costs and make it more economically viable. We have spoken to another company called Alps, the only Indian hearing device manufacturer, and are now evaluating Alps products for hearing devices. So we are now targeting in our program 750,000 screening of babies who are born in Karnataka. We're going to start with Bangalore and then see how we want to extend it out. It's going to be mainly in government hospitals because private hospitals already have it. And 250,000 hearing devices to be distributed. And our cochlear implants continue the next 5 years, and hopefully we'll be at about 200 cochlear implants. Our estimation project cost is likely to be around 150 crores in 5 years. We have not figured out where this will come from, but we are very confident that this goal will be achieved. Don't ask us how right now. But God is always with the brave, and we are definitely brave. So I believe there is enough capital for good causes. We have signed a MOU with DNA, which is also the disability NGO organization, which has all the disability organizations as members in this organization. and in Karnataka, and talked to the Disability Commissioner of Karnataka to also tap into government funds to enable Here a Million. They're excited about it because everyone wants a cause, which they can promote. So let's see how that goes. And I would also like to take this opportunity. I don't like to miss any opportunity, so I'm going to take this one also to invite you to contribute to the program in whatever way you can. Every single rupee counts, your time counts, your best wishes are absolutely invaluable. So anything, girls, most welcome. Love to hear from you on this also. And well, that's all I have to say. And thank you, and wish you and your family safety, health, and happy, prosperous Diwali to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shalini. That was such a fascinating journey. And, especially I think during the pandemic, we've been speaking and thinking so much about how to give back because, we're all in a soul searching kind of frame. And you have been through so many different churns and different journeys, right? From entrepreneurship, corporate, and now philanthropy. So if somebody wants to explore philanthropy more seriously, going beyond, how we just write a check or, donate, what kind of preparedness would that require? Is there any checklist that you could perhaps share if you want to consider philanthropy in a larger way, in a more deeper way?
Hey, okay, when I got into it, I was very clear about what I didn't want to do. All right. And life teaches you a lot of things. So even if you write a check, you can make a lot of difference to people. Don't underestimate that. All right. So I started with, I didn't want to get in at the project level. I did not want to do that. And I did not want to raise any funds because I was done with it in my corporate life and did not want to ask anyone else for money now. All right. And well, today how life teaches you. So see, whatever way you can give back to society, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. According to me, it's perfectly fine. Whatever is your comfort level, whatever is the depth, whatever, and your circumstances. You may not be able to give in enough time to it. It's okay. But do whatever you can and whatever you're passionate about. There's so many people out there who need assistance in all areas. It's not just hearing, it's in every area. You see it all the time. And the pandemic has actually thrown it up in a much wider way for all of us. The migrant workers, people, children in school, suddenly online schooling, they don't have, they're the have and have nots. The difference has become so wide. So all of that has happened. And I think, whatever you can do is so very important that and that divide is going on increasing, and I think the pandemic is going to throw up a lot of all of this going forward. So you also need the money.
Yeah. Shani, would you also like to share about the school and the college that you've adopted and the work you're doing with them?
Sure. So the school is it's a Kannada medium school. It's right there. It's tucked away in Indranagar. Most of the people have not heard about it. It's up to the 10th standard. It's got about between 500 to 530 students. It keeps changing because that's a big issue with schools at that. And it's for the bottom of the pyramid families coming from the lowest strata. And so we looked at that school. I am not coming from the education side of it. And the government has very clear rules and everything, and the curriculum is also defined by the government. I decided that the way we can really support it is try to make it into an aspiration school, because one of the biggest problems that they were facing was students would, there's any problem in the family, the child would be taken out of school, maybe to look after the younger brothers, sisters, whatever. So if, the thought came that actually I saw another school that was being run by a lady, an ex-ICICI bank lady. I forget her name now. And it was very difficult to get into her school, though it was children at the same level. And I realized that, if you make the school aspirational and make it a little tougher for the family to remove the child, it will become much better. How do you make it aspirational? Give it more infrastructure. So we started doing the infrastructure part of it for them. Got a couple of corporates to do the infrastructure directly under their CSR program. Some of it we did ourselves. Then we got their computer lab going because children, today if they don't have knowledge of computers and English, it's just not going to work out. And we first got them refurbished computers, and then they kept breaking down, and we realized that why are we doing this to the children? When we want to give them an equal opportunity, let's go back and negotiate. Again, negotiation skills came in handy. So we went and negotiated with Dell Computers and said, okay, let the kids have good brand new computers. And then we also started a scholarship. We started with academic scholarship out there, to make the school more stickiness in the school. And then we realized that everybody is not just good academically out there from the backgrounds that they are coming from. So let's introduce, scholarships in cultural stuff and also in sports. So we started that, and we also started recognizing 4 parents every year. I think it was 4 to 6 parents every year, um, in terms of how much of involvement the parents have with the child in the school. Okay, so suddenly there was competition amongst the parents, and which is what we really wanted, because if the parents are not with the school, the child will just get moved out. So we've done a lot of that work out there. We still continue to do there's a lot of other things that we need to do, got them proper bathrooms, they just didn't have anything. And trying to see how we can give them. They didn't have shoes, so I mean, the more you get into it, the more you realize that how little those children have, uh, and how happy they look, so that was something. And of course the government is also doing, but this is not totally run by the government. It's run by the nuns, so that was a bit of a problem. They don't have that sort of funding, and sometimes the children can pay their fees, sometimes they can't, so the nuns are quite nice that way. They let them carry on, so that's why the scholarships come in quite handy for them.
Yeah, so there's so many different ways one can actually intervene and make a difference. We leave the forum open for questions. If anybody has questions, please unmute and ask. Vandana did have a question. Is your focus in only limited to Karnataka, or it goes beyond the focus of your program, the Here a Million program? Does it go beyond Karnataka, or is it right now focused in Karnataka?
So we have right now focused only in Karnataka. And the reason being that we are all based out of Karnataka, so it made things a little easy for us, in terms of monitoring and stuff like that. So that's the only reason, and we also want to give back to the state, which we have made into our homes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any questions? Please unmute and ask.
I'd like to make a comment and just share with you, because I've known Shalini throughout this journey. I mean, I know Shalini from 2002 onwards, and Sudhir for longer. So I'd like to say that, if you take a look at what Shalini has accomplished all through, I mean, I can say she's the one person I can truly say has broken, after she's come in, the mold has been totally broken, because she has a very tangential approach to everything. And we all count ourselves as, smarter than maybe many others. And we have very deep discussions, and all of us are very passionate and deep about what we want to do, what we believe in. But I've always counted on Shalini to come up with that one thought that none of us could even think of. And the second thing is that she not only does she say she's going to do it, then it's like a drive. It's like, nothing will stop her. And that's such infectious energy. I mean, even talking about this cochlear implants and talking about the hearing, a personal experience I had was with, she used to come to Delhi, and we are in each other's homes all the time, and we almost family. And my driver's son was deaf, born deaf, or with very little hearing. So she came, and I had been asking him all the time, and he said that I've shown it to the government of Delhi, the hospitals in Delhi and all that. And the government hospitals told him that, oh, he's too young. He'll need to get fitted with a hearing device, but once he's 12. And this kid was just about 4.5. And Shalini came and said, hey, how's your son? So he said, this is what is the problem. And immediately Shalini says, look, if the kid has not got treated before he's 5, it's too late. And so what we did was, I think Dr. Sunil Narayan, that was also traveling to Delhi for a conference. And ahead of that, we showed him to some private doctors, and they all said cochlear implants. And then, we said, okay, the doctor said, I'll get about a couple of lakhs. It was costing about 8 lakhs. And then Shalini said, Bharti, you and I will fund the difference, And then Dr. Sunil Narayan that came, and he said, oh, this guy doesn't need cochlear implants. He can do with hearing devices. And then, of course, we funded the hearing device and everything. And that kid is a happy school goer now. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, right, Shalini?
Yeah. Five.
We are seeing this difference in our lives. I've seen the difference she's done in education, she's done in bringing families. I mean, right from Hyderabad, I've seen the amount of work. So I think the mindset has always been there to do things. And I think that's why Shalini and I've always shared this common feeling that, whatever you do should be completely done. You should see the outcome. And by giving to somebody where there was no transparency and things like that was always a challenge, because you didn't know what your money had actually accomplished. And I remember that this was a conversation we had, and Shalini was very clear that, every penny I give must go to the child. And that is, I think, was even before Sethi Foundation was formed, the thought was already there. So I just thought that would be, a good insight for others to know how she is and what kind of a person she is. She's, of course, a person I've known, and I may sound partial, but I'm not. Her heart actually has no bottom. So, she's always there for people who are in trouble. She doesn't need a foundation to do that. But I think that this Hear a Million is the kind of audacious goal that I have always expected Shalini to do. And she said she's done it, it'll happen. Now, for all of us, it is a good idea to, sort of be involved in that with a little bit of that, goodwill coming to us also. We become, safer and get our slot of the or whatever.
Thanks so much, Bharti. Thank you so much for sharing that. It also, gives, it's the mindset that, really starts making things happen.
On Karnataka, only Karnataka. The reason also that we're doing only Karnataka is because we don't have any partners in any of the other cities as of now. But yeah, I think if there are partners, there's no reason to be only in Karnataka. And Bharti, thank you so much for, of course, you are biased.
Well, I'm not coming to you anytime soon, so the coffee can't buy me. Okay, anyway, it's very nice of you guys to invite me. Thank you, Malika, for letting me know.
Madhulika had
couldn't have a session by Shalini and not have you attend, Bharti.
I know. And
I know.
Malika and I have worked together. Started our careers, I think, Malika, you also started.
Yeah.
So we both started our careers in DCM together.
Since 86.
You went 86, and I started 81 to 83. I was doing management training from DCM. So, yeah, I mean, we do end up meeting. The world is small, as someone said.
Madhulika had a comment. Please, Madhulika, unmute, share.
So Shalini, of course, quiet worker. She observes and reads all messages. and she has always come out and helped, earlier also and recently also to an appeal. So that is the largeness of the heart.
Oh, thank you. I don't think I deserve all that. And believe me, I'm not very good at reading. I do miss a lot of messages. I wish I could read better than that. But
That's okay. It's hard to catch up with our traffic, even for people who are highly engaged.
But we managed to catch up at Amritsar airport, if you remember, Monica.
Yeah, we did.
And Shalini was going to
so
do
at
the next
least we got
ELSA trip
the
with us, and of course, that
important ones,
COVID
so.
happened.
Yeah, that was the last trip
We
that
do all
I know.
together.
We were so glad the ELSA trip went off uneventfully. The world shut down after that.
Correct. None of us, I think, ever traveled after that, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That was our last trip.
Yeah. Great to hear your story, Shalini. Had no idea how amazing it was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any more questions? Anybody has?
Can I
Yes,
come in?
Kaveri, please.
Hi, Shubha.
Hi.
Hi, Shalini.
Hi.
So I'm Kaveri this side. We haven't met, but honestly, it was one session where I could truly feel that you have been so motivated all through, from one to another role that you have taken up. And can I please know what has kept you going? What was the strongest motivation? You come across as very humble, polite, and hugely organized. So I would like to know that, if I may.
I think it's a need to want to do something all the time. It's basically that, we always wanted to do something. I can't sit, and I'm very entrepreneurial. I realize that now. If a thing starts getting corporate-ish, I tend to move out and move on to my
I
next.
see.
So even at my
Thank you.
age, I'm saying that, so that's quite a bit. And
so can I come in here? That's very interesting because when an entrepreneur starts, doesn't it become corporate after that anyway? So how do you sustain that? Bharti, I can see you profusely nodding your head because I find lots of people who have started, then it becomes a normal company. So I would love to know this, Shalini. Though of course I wanted to come in and tell you that I had tears, and I wish I had no clue about you getting into this. I know so many people with this ear disability, and but to be able to help, I actually wanted to step in for that. I will reach out to you. But the fact is, this entrepreneurship and the corporate, I can never. What is it? What is the difference? Just to elaborate on that, please.
on which part? Sorry.
You said that. You just answered her question that, when you want to be an entrepreneur and the moment you don't have the corporate style of bringing it in and just to remain an entrepreneur, the internet. So what is it that makes the difference? I still don't have figured it out because people who start on, and I find most of the companies running the same way. They forget either the values or they forget their vision. I have no clue. So I have a lot of personal people who are into this. So what keeps you going on that? To add on to what Kaveri just said.
One of the things, when it became too corporate, things started stabilizing. I didn't find it interesting. I said, okay, no, not time for me to move on. Yes, but in my own companies, I stayed on much longer. There's also a thrill of growing something. So I guess it's a combination of being entrepreneurial. Also, from a very young age, I never reported into anyone. So,
okay.
I was always used to making my own decisions and taking my own risks.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Okay.
And it grows on you. Before you can say Jack, it grows on you,
Okay.
And that, I think, is the excitement of that's what an entrepreneur is all about. You make your mistakes, you learn, whatever. It's all on your own. It's lonely, but it's interesting.
Shafige had a question. Shafige, if you could unmute and ask.
Hi, Shalini. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. That was a fabulous story. I think that the healthcare segment really needs more people like you who just realize that there are people who have such huge needs and are willing to step up. My question is, you started with a foundation, and this kind of support just can't work unless you find some way to keep filling the bucket that you keep emptying. So would you have any suggestions on how, we can keep filling up the bucket so that we can do more work?
Yeah,
Are there any strategies for building a corpus that you'd be willing to share?
see, I am trying to figure that out now because I need the 150 crores, which is the tougher one. Okay, it's been the smaller one, which has been personal. We are committed. So what we are looking at, even in the family, is for our own funds, is to create a corpus which is going to be philanthropic, and it's going to generate enough returns which can fulfill our whatever we need to do on the philanthropy side. So the money is going to be given into a trust which is going to be owned by Sethi Foundation. So that is and I think if you, of course, he's a big man. Premji has done phenomenal work in that on that side. I think that's your question, right? On how he's moved his shares. We don't have those large number of shares, but definitely, whatever you have, it should be able to generate on a regular basis. So that I think is important. On a year on year, because as we keep getting older, we may not have the funds to actually, when you're still in your active work life, there's a lot of money everyone can do. After that, it becomes more and more difficult. So it's a good idea to start looking at it. You're very right. It's very, very sensible to do that.
So we are running out of time. So I think we should now wind down. Thank you so much, Shalini, for sharing your journey and for doing the work you do, because it's so life-changing, it's so critical, and we hope we all reach that level where we could also contribute in a meaningful manner. I invite Yumna to come and introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Shubha. Thank you, Shalini. Thank you, Bharati. I think it was so inspirational listening to you. As Kaveri said, it's the story is told in a way that you immediately connect to. So Shalini, thank you for that, for your inimitable style. And at the same time, it's so inspirational that you feel like, you reach for the stars and you're reaching the moon anyway, even if you fall short of the stars. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And this is about the upcoming session. At ELSAConnect, we are delighted to bring you Lady Kishwar Desai, who set up the world's first partition museum at Amritsar to recognize, reconstruct, and remember the partition of India. She's the chair of the Arts and Cultural Heritage Trust and has worked towards sustaining and preserving Indian cultural history across the world. She's received ELSA's Distinguished Alumni Award in 2019 for her work in arts, literature, and modern Indian history. She's also an author, playwright, and TV professional, and has significant work in all these areas. Has a new book coming out, in fact, about Devika Rani, who is very familiar to those of us in Bangalore. The session will be curated by Rashmi Mishra. Please do register, because it is an open session to those who are ELSAs from across the world, which means that there is a limit of 100 seats available, and book your seat, basically. The other thing that I want to share on this is that we're also using this as an opportunity to collate ELSA partition stories. And there is a WhatsApp group that's been set up for this. It's got a bit.ly tag, so bit.ly/part-stories. You should be able to find it on our ELSA bulletin for members. And we have fantastic stories that have already been shared. So thank you, Neelu, Molika, Ajanta. I know several people have stories coming out in the next few days, which are being simultaneously published on our own Instagram as well as the Partition Museum Instagram. So I encourage you to participate. Do go read the stories, they're very inspirational, and look forward to seeing you all on Saturday. Thank you so much, Shubha. Over to you.
Look forward to it. Vandana would like to say something. Vandana, if you could unmute.
Thanks. Actually, it was to do with Shalini's thing, and I wanted, when you spoke about scale, Shalini. So we can go off later. You've already sort of mentioned it, but all the very best. I put there that only, when you dream, do you have the ability to make a dream come true? and find purpose and means will follow. So all the very best, all the very, very best. It's amazing work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Sandhya, if you could switch off the YouTube thing, and if people want to continue chatting, they can. But yeah, whoever